I'm 85. Here are 5 lies I believed my whole life. I spent 60 years believing something that was never true, and by the time I realized it, the people I needed to tell were gone. I'm 85 years old. I've buried friends. I've buried certainties. And I've buried 5 lies I carried like luggage my entire life. If you're still young enough to unpack yours, sit with me for a few minutes. 85 years. That's over 31,000 days. You'd think with that many sunrises, a man would get most things right. But here's what they don't tell you about getting old. You don't get smarter. You just get honest. The lies you told yourself at 20, they don't disappear. They wait. They sit quietly in the corner of your life, shaping every choice you make. And you don't notice them until everything they built starts to crumble. I believed 5 lies, deeply, completely, and each one cost me something I can never get back. Lie 1. Hard work always pays off. The first lie. Hard work always pays off. Now, before you argue with me, hear me out. I'm not saying hard work doesn't matter. I'm saying I used it as a religion. I worshipped at the altar of busyness, and I called exhaustion dedication. I was 34 when my company offered me a promotion. It meant longer hours, weekends, travel. My wife, Eleanor, she looked at me and said, "We'll manage." And we did manage, for a while. I missed my daughter's first piano recital. I missed the afternoon my son scored his first goal and ran to the stands looking for me. I missed quiet Tuesday evenings that meant nothing at the time and everything now. And the promotion, they gave it to someone else 2 years later. Restructuring, they called it. I gave them my time, and they gave me a handshake and a box for my desk. Here's what I learned too late. Hard work pays off, but it doesn't tell you what it's paying for. I was earning money. I was losing a family. And I didn't read the receipt until it was too late to return anything. That was the first lie. And honestly, it was the easiest one to see. The next one? The next one is the one that kept me up at night for decades. Lie 2. There's always more time. The second lie. There's always more time. My brother Walter called me on a Sunday in 1987. He said, "Let's drive up to Lake Walden, just you and me, like when we were kids." I told him I couldn't. I had things to do, the yard, some project at work. I said, "Next month, Walt. We'll make a whole weekend of it." Next month came. I was busy again. And the month after that, and the one after that. Walter died 3 years later. Heart attack. Sudden. No warning. That lake still exists. It's still up there with the same trees and the same shoreline and the same quiet mornings we used to fish in as boys. But Walter doesn't exist anymore. And the chair next to me at that lake has been empty for almost 40 years. You see, time doesn't warn you. It doesn't tap you on the shoulder and say, "This is the last chance." It just moves. And you move with it, always believing there's another Sunday, another phone call, another chance to say yes. There isn't. There are a fixed number of Sundays in every life, and you are spending them right now, whether you notice or not. If any of this feels familiar, if you're sitting there thinking about your own brother, your own lake, your own next month, stay with me, because the next 3 lies are the ones I wish I could go back and shake my younger self over. Lie 3. Keeping it together means you're strong. The third lie. Keeping it together means you're strong. I grew up in a house where men didn't cry. My father never once told me he loved me. Not because he didn't, I believe he did, but because he was taught that love was something you proved with work, not words. And I carried that forward like an inheritance I never asked for. When Eleanor was sick, really sick, the kind that doesn't get better, I sat beside her hospital bed every single day. I held her hand. I brought her flowers. But I never once said, I'm scared. I never once said, I don't know how to do this without you. She looked at me one afternoon, thin as paper, and she said, You don't have to be brave for me, Henry. I just need you to be here, really here. And I tried. God, I tried. But that wall I'd built brick by brick, year by year, it was taller than both of us by then. Strength without openness isn't strength. It's just isolation with better posture. My son does the same thing now. He holds it together. He keeps it all inside. And when I see it, I don't see strength. I see my own mistake looking back at me through his eyes.
Lie 4. Money means you've made it. The fourth lie. Money means you've made it. I had a good career, saved well, retired with enough to be comfortable. By most measures, I made it. But let me tell you what making it looks like at 85. It looks like a nice house that's too quiet. It looks like a full refrigerator and a table set for one. It looks like a savings account that could take me anywhere in the world and nowhere I want to go alone. I had a neighbor once, Frank. Frank drove an old truck, wore the same 3 shirts, never had much. But every Sunday his house was full. Kids, grandkids, neighbors, noise. You could hear the laughter from across the street. Frank died last year. Standing room only at his funeral. People told stories for 2 hours. When I go, I wonder how long the stories will last. I wonder if there will be enough people to tell them. Money is a tool. That's all it is. It builds houses, but it doesn't fill them. And the loneliest people I've ever known had the most comfortable chairs to sit alone in. One more lie, the last one. And I saved it for last because it's the one I still catch myself believing even now. Lie 5. I'll be remembered for what I achieved. The fifth lie, the most stubborn one. I'll be remembered for what I achieved. I spent decades building things, a career, a reputation, projects with my name on them. I thought that's what I'd leave behind, my legacy, my mark on the world. But last year I went to a funeral for a woman I knew from church, Margaret, 89 years old, small life by most definitions, never ran a company, never won an award, and at her funeral, person after person stood up and said the same thing. She made me feel like I mattered. A neighbor said Margaret brought soup every time someone was sick. A young man said she was the only person who believed in him when he dropped out of school. Her granddaughter said she never once ended a phone call without saying, "I'm proud of you." No one mentioned what Margaret did for a living. Not once. I sat in that church and I realized I'd spent my whole life writing a resume, and Margaret had spent hers writing on people's hearts. That's the lie. You won't be remembered for what you built. You'll be remembered for how you made people feel in the small, ordinary, forgettable moments that turn out to be the only moments that matter. I'm 85. I've lived 31,000 days.
And I carried these 5 lies through most of them. Hard work always pays off. There's always more time. Keeping it together means you're strong. Money means you've made it. I'll be remembered for what I achieved. 5 lies. 5 quiet thieves that stole the things I can't get back. But you're still here. Your brother is still a phone call away. Your child is still looking for you in the stands. Your person still needs to hear you say the thing you've been holding inside. Don't wait for a perfect moment. This Tuesday, this ordinary, unremarkable Tuesday, is the one you'll wish you could have back. If this story stayed with you, pass it along to someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more stories like this, I'll be here. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next chapter.